We've gutted our society of every value but money. And we think, hey, they're going to love money too. Xi's going to love money too. You know, we'll get him some money and we'll get Putin some money and they're all going to trade. We're all going to have this one big trading block. And Xi and Putin basically say, no, we don't want, we have values. Are they evil values? Yes, they are. I mean, China is, a hive mind. It's being forced into being a hive mind by their social engineering. Russia is a czarist state again. It's evil, it's retrograde, it is all those things, but those are values, and that is what the world is about. The world is about, history is not a struggle between systems of trade. History is a struggle between values, and if you condemn religion, you can get rid of religion, you can get rid of tradition, and guess what? One day you're going to open your door, and another religion you don't like so much, and another tradition that's oppressive is going to be waiting there with a gun. I want to show you, though, because I'm sorry, I know I'm going off on a tangent in a way, but Putin and Xi must look at us turning boys into girls and destroying our energy industry over computer models, that something might happen in 100 years, and firing people from their jobs for being white and attacking our own heritage, tearing down our own statues. And look, boys can become girls. Look at Justin Trudeau. But while we're sitting around making Rachel Levine the first male who's a female admiral so she can gather her pink cloud ships and wage war against reality on a make-believe sea, Putin and Xi are drinking and laughing, and they're thinking, yeah, that's good. You guys keep doing that, and we'll teach your children to. We'll send over TikTok, and we'll teach your children to do that too, and we are going to take over the world bit by bit by bit. First our part, then your part. So, we convinced Ukraine, so we're fools. We're fools. We thought all this was over. It's never over. It is never over. The mind of man, the brain of man, the consciousness of man evolves, but the heart of man is crooked and it never changes, never, ever, ever changes. We talked Ukraine into giving up their nuclear weapons. We said we protect them in the crunch. And Russia said, and yes, and we'll never attack them. But Russia doesn't care about treaties. They don't care about anything. They do not care about anything except what they're doing. So our treaties don't mean anything to them. And now we see they don't mean anything to us, right? I mean, the sanctions that Biden has unleashed on these guys are a joke. They are a joke still. These are the worst sanctions ever. This is really going to do it to them. No, it's not. It's not going to do anything to them. They're not making the oligarchs pay. They're not cutting them off. There's so many exceptions in their energy sanctions that they're not sanctions at all. And this is, and this is a result of just a fantasy that we were in. I mean, let's go back in time just a little bit. Remember George Bush meeting Vladimir Putin for the first time? Is cut one.
I looked the man in the eye. I found it to be very straightforward and trustworthy. We had a very good dialogue. I was able to get a sense of his soul. He's a man deeply committed to his country and the best interests of his country. And I appreciated so very much the frank dialogue.
George W. Bush looked into Putin's eyes and he saw himself. He's a good man. He's dedicated to the good of his country, and he is those things. But he was looking at a monster. He was looking at a guy who was just thinking, yeah, whatever, I don't care about it. And then, of course, Obama sent Secretary of State Hillary Clinton over there to talk to, who was it, Lavrov, the foreign minister, and she gave him the reset button as cut two.
In anticipation of this important meeting and our time here together, I wanted to present you with a little gift which represents what President Obama and Vice President Biden and I have been saying. And that is, we want to reset our relationship. And
let's do it together.
So we will do it together, okay?
Thank you very much.
You are very welcome. We worked hard to get the right Russian word. Do you think we got it?
You get it wrong.
I got it wrong.
It should be перезагрузка. And this says перегрузка, which means overcharged.
And everybody's laughing, and Lavrov is wondering what Hillary is going to taste like when he cooks her and eats her, right? Because Obama and she are thinking money, money, money. They're thinking everybody is themselves. Everybody's looking at these people and seeing themselves and thinking, well, we like money. We like cheap iPhones. We have no values anymore. So why should they have values? But they do. They have the wrong values, but they have values. And that is what history is about. History is about values fighting with values. You know how I always say you don't preach to people because it's annoying. You preach by living out your values with joy, and then people see that and they think, hey, what is this guy on? What is he smoking? And they join. That's appealing to people. That is appealing. But you got to feel that joy. You got to live into those values. Have we done that? Have we shown anybody values? I mean, when we're sitting around, putting up rainbow flags in Afghanistan, are we showing anybody anything except decadence and stupidity and a complete misunderstanding of where the center of life is and what life is about? I mean, people are looking at us, a man can turn into a woman. Sure, he can. They're looking at us like we're nuts. And you know why? Because we're nuts. We're nuts because we have no values. And so they're thinking everything's going to be great because we have a global world economy. And Putin and his friend in China, they're both thinking, no. What you're saying is we're going to have a world economy, but it's an American world. And I've said this a million times. I'm for globalism as long as it's American globalism, as long as all the values that we spread throughout the globe are the good old-fashioned founding fathers' American values. I'm there. But that's not going to happen because other people have their values, and some of their values are bad, and they defend them to the death, right? No evil villain thinks he's a villain. No villain thinks he's a villain. A friend of mine said to me the other day, even Hitler thought he was doing the world a favor. Yes, that's right. Even Hitler thought he was doing the world a favor. These guys don't think they're villains. They just are villains because their values suck. They're not different. I mean, this is a thing that used to bother me about Trump. Trump would say, well, Putin just happens to have a different economic system or a different political system, and I don't happen to like a system. No. That's not it. His system is wrong. His system is wrong, and our system is right. Freedom is what God wants from human beings. That's what he gave us. That is his gift to us, and I'm sorry if you don't like God, and I'm sorry if you don't like that kind of absolutism. I'm not an absolutist. I'm not even an absolutist about freedom, but I know that that is the good thing that human beings are supposed to have. And here's Obama. You remember Mitt Romney? I'm sure everybody remembers this. Mitt Romney saying that that Russia was our biggest geopolitical enemy, which probably isn't true. It's probably China, but still, Obama laughed at him. It's cut 13.
Governor Romney, I'm glad that you recognize that al-Qaeda is a threat, because a few months ago, when you were asked what's the biggest geopolitical threat facing America, you said Russia. Not al-Qaeda, you said Russia. In the 1980s are now calling to ask for their foreign policy back because, the Cold War has been over for 20 years. But, Governor, when it comes to our foreign policy, you seem to want to import the foreign policies of the 1980s, just like the social policies of the 1950s and the economic policies of the 1920s.
Ha, 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 right? And again, you could just as easily have said, Chamberlain could just as easily have said to Churchill, and probably did, World War I is over. You're still fighting World War I, pal. We got to give the Sudetenland to Hitler. And again, Putin's not Hitler, but he's a criminal, just like Hitler was. And so, you can say the same thing. This part of the world doesn't change. And this dream that they had, this fantasy, this pink fantasy we've been living in, that every time I hear people say, it's the 21st century, nobody's going to invade anybody anymore. I just think, what are you talking about? When did the heart of man straighten out and I missed it? So let me bring this to a close with this. Now we know. All the people who said he'll never invade, they were wrong. All the people who said we can bargain with him and, we're holding these great sanctions in reserve and they'll turn him back, they were wrong. Will they learn anything? Here's John Kerry. This is before the invasion, but it's the same week. I mean, we already knew this was coming down the pike. And here's John Kerry giving an interview about what's wrong with this invasion. If John Kerry, remember they sold us John Kerry, how smart he was because he was running against W, and the line on W was that W was stupid. So John Kerry, he's so smart. Just listen to the way he talks. He mustn't be smart. He can't even open his mouth. That's so smart. If John Kerry were any stupider, he'd be two John Kerrys. Here's what he said.
I'm very concerned about Ukraine because of the people of Ukraine and because of the principles that are at risk in terms of international law and trying to change boundaries of international law by force. I thought we lived in a world that had said no to that kind of activity, and I hope diplomacy will win. But massive emissions consequences to the war, but equally importantly, you're going to lose people's focus. You're going to lose certainly big country attention because they will be diverted, and I think it could have a damaging impact. So, I think hopefully President Putin would realize that in the northern part of his country, they used to live on 66% of a nation that was over frozen land. Now it's thawing, and his infrastructure is at risk, and the people of Russia are at risk. And so I hope President Putin will help us to stay on track with respect to what we need to do for the climate.
He's hoping that murdering people and conquering their countries is not going to distract him from climate change. Because, I mean, what an idiot! You know? I mean, the poor Arab babe is watching him, going like, "I'm talking to a crazy man. I don't know what this is." Unbelievable. Our people are clowns. I'm sorry, you cannot go up against Al Capone without Elliot Ness. You can't go up against these people if you are clowns. You know, I just want to show you one other thing, a couple of other things actually. This is an actress who calls herself an activist, Anna Lynn McCord, very pretty girl, usually plays kind of vixens. She put out a video, Dear President Vladimir Putin, and it's a poem. So she sent Putin a poem. Here's what she says.
Dear President Vladimir Putin, I'm so sorry that I was not your mother. If I was your mother, you would have been so loved, held in the arms of joyous light. Never would the stories plight the world unfurled before our eyes, a pure demise of nations sitting peaceful under a night sky. If I was your mother, the world would have been warm. So much laughter and joy, and nothing would harm. I can't imagine the stain, the soul-stealing pain that the little boy you must have seen and believed, and the formulation of thought quickly taught that you lived in a cruel, unjust world. Is this why you now decide no one will get the best of you? Is this why you do not hide nor away shy from taking back the world? Was it because so early in life, all that strife racked your little body with fear?
It's unbelievable. And this is our entertainment class that gets up on Oscar night, which people used to watch. It was Oscar. You've probably forgotten what that is, but Oscars were this award show and people watched it a lot. And they would get up and lecture us about politics. These are the people. Joy Behar, this is her problem with the invasion. I love this. This is from The View, 35, yeah.
Estimates are 50,000 Ukrainians will be dead or wounded, and that this is going to start a humanitarian crisis, a refugee crisis in Europe. We're talking about 5 million people that are going to be displaced. I mean, it's heartbreaking to hear what is going to happen.
Well, I'm scared of what's going to happen in Western Europe, too. You know, you plan a trip, you want to go there. I want to go to Italy for 4 years. I haven't been able to make it because of the pandemic. And now this, it's like, what's going to happen there?
Ruining her Italy trip. And, it's funny, but these are the people who speak about the news on our TV, and you wonder why we're stupid. I mean, how can we be smart unless we're actually reading books? Because these are the people who are talking about the news on TV. And then when Trump says that Putin's a genius, I mean, compared to these people, compared to John Kerry, Putin is Thomas Edison. He's Albert Einstein. It's like, I mean, that's what I think that's what he means. What he means is we have been such fools. When we lost Vietnam, I mean, the Soviets went on the march in Afghanistan. They invaded Afghanistan. They went on the march in Africa and South America. They were really taking over the world in the 70s until Reagan spent them to death and opposed them with moral clarity, which really was a powerful thing because he had values, or at least he stood for values. When we bungled Afghanistan and let Hong Kong go under without saying a word, right? Putin and Xi, they got the message too. They saw what's going on and they are on the move. And, if you don't think Taiwan is going to go, if you don't think, I mean, he's already flying missions over Taiwan. They're already sending planes over Taiwan, threatening them. They react to what we do. And the Republican Party and the conservatives lost their way when they forgot what values are, when they forgot to stand for anything, when they forgot to stand up. I mean, say what you will about Trump, but he reminded them of that, even if he hadn't lived the most moral life, but he reminded them that this is a moral fight we're in. It is a moral fight. If we don't stand for the values that uphold freedom, then we won't have free trade, right? It's like values create freedom. Freedom creates the free trade that makes us rich, and then when we get rich, of course, we forget the values and the freedom goes away. It's a hierarchy. We have to live in that hierarchy of values first, then freedom, then free trade, and then you can be rich and you can stay free if you don't lose the values. Joe Biden, he is just He is the new Neville Chamberlain, and the Democrats are an entire party of Neville Chamberlains. They're backing him to the hilt. They're saying, what a wonderful thing that Trump isn't president anymore. And Putin didn't do this when Trump was president because Trump took care of business. He took care of business. He let the energy market thrive. Biden didn't do that. Biden cut down our Keystone pipeline and gave an allowance to the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, Putin's pipeline into Germany. And he said, well, that will give us leverage because we'll be able to cut it off. Putin doesn't care. There's plenty of natural gas he's taken over in Ukraine, by the way. It's something like the fourth largest producer of natural gas in the world. So, and the Nord Stream pipeline bypasses Ukraine. So if he has Ukraine, he doesn't need that pipeline. You know, it's not all about economics. It is about values. And if we don't have values, and if we don't recognize the values of the people we oppose, if we don't recognize the evil of the values that we oppose, whether they're Islamists who didn't kill because they were out of work, as David Brooks once said, they didn't kill because they were out of work. They killed because they believed in a God who wanted us dead. The Islamists did. Now these guys kill because they believe in a world in which they dominate. Their way of thinking dominates. Their authoritarianism dominates. Human consciousness evolves, but sinful human nature never changes. And this guy, you know, we thought we could tell reality how it was supposed to behave. We thought we could tell reality. We thought, oh, men can be women and, you know, people can be civilized by giving them a lot of money and people don't need values. We can live without that. We thought we were going to tell reality how to behave. This thug Putin, he is reality. And he's not going to be deterred except by the kind of real power, which is the only thing that he can understand. If you want more Klavan-y content, subscribe and like, and subscribe to The Andrew Klavan Show wherever you get your podcasts.